With every new Pokemon generation comes a new set of interesting items, and Gen 9 is no exception. Gen 9 may not have brought anything as impactful as leftovers or heavy-duty boots, but the items we did get are cool tools nonetheless. Without further ado, I'm going to rank the 8 new competitive items that were introduced in Gen 9. Starting at the bottom is number 8, the Fairy Feather. The Fairy Feather is part of the series of items that boost moves of a particular type by 20%. So what makes it the worst? Well, functionally, we've already had this item since Gen 6. That's when the Pixie Play was introduced, which does the exact same thing as the Fairy Feather. The Fairy Feather really only exists for flavor and consistency. Technically, there's one thing the Fairy Feather can do that the Pixie Play can't. Normal type Arceus can hold it and boost all one of its Fairy type moves. The Fairy Feather isn't bad by any means, but it just didn't introduce anything new to the series. The next item is one you may have forgotten about, the Ability Shield. The Ability Shield protects the holder from having their ability changed or suppressed. This allows for neat interactions such as Hatterene bouncing back Stealth Rock set by Exegil because the Ability Shield prevents Mold Breaker from working on Hatterene. However, Ability Shield is really only useful for niche interactions like this. Unless you really need to specifically counter something with Mold Breaker or similar effects, it's not worth the slot. The Ability Shield is a cool item, but just seldom useful, and so that's why I've put it at number 7. Number 6 is another pretty niche item, the Punching Glove. The Punching Glove has two effects. The first is that it boosts the power of punching moves by 10%. The second is that it prevents punching moves from making contact. This is very useful for Pokemon like Urshifu Rabbitstart, since it protects it from effects like Static and Rocky Helmet. However, the Punching Glove is really only useful to a handful of Pokemon since the effect is overall pretty mild. What puts Punching Glove above Ability Shield is that the Ability Shield is only useful if your opponent has something specific, whereas the Punching Glove will always provide value to the user. Thus, the Punching Glove resides at number 6. For number 5, I've chosen the Mirror Herb. The Mirror Herb is a one-time use item that lets the holder copy a foe's boosting move. The power of Mirror Herb is very situational. Against a bulky team with a lot of Fatmons, it's not very useful. But against a Shell Smash sweeper, you can win the game outright with something that normally isn't able to boost itself to the degree that Shell Smash does. For this reason, Mirror Herb is very strong in draft because it can hard punish people who rely on boost sweepers. In most contexts, the Mirror Herb isn't that great, but in the right setting, the Mirror Herb can be a game changer, thus landing at number 5. Starting at the top half is the Clear Amulet. Clear Amulet prevents the holder's stats from being lowered by other Pokemon. The most valuable application of this is in VGC because it blocks the attack drop from Intimidate. It also causes the move Parting Shot to fail entirely, as if Incineroar didn't hate this item enough already. Clear Amulet also notably protects the holder from Sticky Web, which can be very valuable in singles. There are lots of other moves that Clear Amulet prevents from working, but those 3 are probably the most important ones. Physical attackers like Calyrex Ice Rider especially love Clear Amulet since it makes spamming powerful of physical attacks a lot easier. A lot of top players in VGC use Clear Amulet at Worlds for a reason. However, Clear Amulet isn't really useful in singles formats, so that's why I have it at number 4. My pick for number 3 may be the most controversial take on the list. Loaded Dice. Loaded Dice makes the user's multi-strike moves hit at least 4 times. This sounds pretty tame, but there's a reason I've put this above Clear Amulet. Clear Amulet makes already good Pokemon better and safer against common opposing strategies, whereas Loaded Dice enables moveset that would otherwise be unviable. For example, take Swords Dance Koraidon. SD of course gives it the big attack boost it needs, but then with Loaded Dice it can use Scale Shot as both a boosting move and reliable Dragon type stab. Scale Shot is really the biggest reason why I think Loaded Dice is great. Many Dragon types lack a good physical stab, but the combo of Scale Shot and Loaded Dice solves that problem and gives some sweeping potential. The Dragon Ice types especially benefit from Loaded Dice since they can use both Scale Shot and Icicle Spear. I understand if you disagree with me, but honestly, I'm just a big fan of Loaded Dice. The runner-up slot is another item that VGC players love, Covert Cloak. Covert Cloak is an item that gives the holder immunity to the secondary effects of damaging moves. There are tons of applications for this. Attacks that lower stats like Snarl and Electroweb, now just weak moves. Random flinches and freezes. Covert Cloak makes the holder functionally immune to those since they only exist as secondary effects. The biggest factor in VGC is the immunity to the flinch caused by Fake Out. Fake Out is the single most important attacking move in VGC, so getting to ignore that can be really strong, especially against teams that like to cycle Fake Out users. Covert Cloak came at the perfect time, because Gen 9 happens to be the same generation in which one of the most annoying moves of all time was introduced, Salt Cure. Salt Cure is perhaps one of the easiest ways to force progress in a game, and you can't even taunt the Salt guy to prevent it. So if you hate guard, Covert Cloak shuts down its bread and butter. As a defensive item, Covert Cloak is among the best, hence its penultimate placement. Run from it, hide from it, dread it. Booster energy comes all the same. Booster energy is a wild item. It gives a one-time 30% boost to the holder's highest stat, unless that stat is speed, in which case the boost is 50%. Its use is restricted to only Paradox Pokemon, but Paradox Mons run rampant in every format. Although it can technically be used for defensive boosts, the real power of booster energy is in the offensive pressure it applies. Paradox Mons tend to have huge stats to begin with, but booster energy can increase their damage outputs to absurd levels. This boost bypasses unaware Mons too, making it even more potent and difficult to deal with defensively. Many OU teams in Gen 9 use as many as 3 Pokemon with booster energy, aka booster spam. Booster spam enables all sorts of offensive teams to thrive in OU. The speed boost from booster energy is the strongest part. It gives the speed control Choice Scarf, but allows for more flexibility, a feat that no other item can replicate. Things like booster speed Fluttermane are a staple of VGC and provide the ultimate form of speed control. They apply offensive pressure, control speed, and can be at the liberty of using Protect all at once. Honestly, I could go on and on about booster energy. It's basically unstoppable and makes already powerful Pokemon even more powerful. Thus, I think booster energy is the strongest item added in Gen 9. It's noodle time, baby! Booster energy who? Nah, noodles are number one. Who doesn't love a good old-fashioned noodle sandwich? Gordon Ramsay couldn't give this a single critique if he tried. I love noodles, yes, I love noodles, the best item in the game. Noodles, baby, noodles! Ugh, sorry, I think I blacked out for a minute there. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'm curious to see what you think of my list. I figure a lot of you will disagree with my placement of loaded dice, but hey.
Well, you know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
If you made it this far and you're not subscribed, why not just do it at this point? And if you are already subscribed, now is the time to make dozens of alt accounts and subscribe with all of those. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.